Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the story of the Prophet Muhammad and the origins of Islamic law. It's a journey that takes us all the way back to the bustling heart of 7th century Arabia.
So, who was Muhammad, really? And how did his journey kickstart one of the world's biggest religions? To really get it, we've got to go back, way back, to the world he was born into.
Right, Mecca. Before we can even talk about the message, we have to talk about the city. Understanding what Mecca was like back then is absolutely crucial to getting why Muhammad's message was so revolutionary.
Yeah, in the 7th century, Mecca was the place to be. It was the absolute beating heart of the Arabian Peninsula. Think of it as this buzzing crossroads of trade and religion, a super complex society that pulled in people from all over.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting because it sets the whole stage. Just picture it. Mecca's entire identity revolved around worshiping something like 360 different gods, and the center of all that was the Kaaba. Now, this wasn't just about religion. The ruling tribe, the Quraysh, controlled everything and got rich off the pilgrimages. But, and this is a big but, all that wealth was built on some pretty rough stuff: widespread social inequality, crazy lending practices, and even debt slavery.
So, into this world, this mix of gods, money, and inequality, a man is born. And his message? Well, it's going to shake the city to its very core.
Right, Muhammad. He was born in Mecca around 570 AD, and he had a tough start, orphaned pretty young. So he grew up seeing all this complexity, all the divisions and hardships right from the inside. He even became a merchant, so he knew the system firsthand.
And then, bam! The year is 610 and everything changes. He's meditating in a cave just outside the city, and he receives what he believes is the first revelation from God brought by the archangel Gabriel. Suddenly, he's not just Muhammad the merchant anymore. He is Rasul Allah, the messenger of God.
And the message he starts to preach? Whoa, it was completely radical for the time. First, he says there's only one God, Allah. That's a direct shot at the 360 gods of Mecca. But it went deeper. It was a social revolution. He's calling for charity, for equality, for an end to those exploitative loans, and telling everyone, rich or poor, that they'll be judged for what they do. That's a game changer.
So you see, this wasn't just some abstract religious debate. Not at all. When Muhammad attacked the idols and the predatory lending, he was basically attacking the entire power structure of Mecca. He was threatening the wallets of the city's elite, and you can bet they weren't going to take that sitting down. The backlash was swift, and it was harsh.
Things start getting really dangerous. The hostility, the persecution, it just keeps ramping up. So Muhammad and his small group of followers find themselves at a crossroads. They have to make a choice, and it's a choice that will change everything.
Just look at how fast things escalated here. In 619, often called the Year of Mourning, he loses both his wife Khadija and his influential uncle Abu Talib, basically his two biggest protectors. After that, things in Mecca get impossible. By 622, they have to leave, which leads to this critical migration. And it doesn't end there. Just 2 years later, you've got the Battle of Badr. Things got real fast.
And that journey, the Hijra, was so much more than just packing up and moving. This was the birth of the Ummah, the unified Islamic community. It was them saying goodbye to the old tribal politics of Mecca and hello to a brand new society, one built not on bloodlines, but on shared faith.
The impact of this one event? It's honestly staggering. That journey, the Hijra, marks year one on the Islamic calendar. The calendar used today by something like 2 billion people worldwide. That's a straight line connecting a 12-day trek in the 7th century to billions of lives today.
Okay, so they've made it to Medina. Now what? You've got this brand new community. How do you run it? They needed a system, a set of rules and ethics to guide them, and this is where the idea of Sharia begins.
The word itself, Sharia, is pretty beautiful when you think about it. It literally translates to the path to the spring. It's this idea of a path that leads to water, to life, to sustenance. It's meant to be a complete guide for how to live a life that aligns with God's will.
Okay, now this next point is absolutely crucial, and it's something a lot of people mix up. Sharia is not a law book. Think of Sharia as the divine, eternal, unchanging principles that come from God. Fiqh, well, fiqh is the human part. It's the work of scholars trying to understand and interpret Sharia and turn it into practical, everyday laws. And because it's human, it's considered fallible. It can and does change over time.
So as you can probably guess, trying to pin down one single definition for such a huge concept is, well, it's not easy. The sources give us a whole range of descriptions. You've got the more straightforward ones, like this, that see it as a complete system of law covering everything.
And then you have more academic takes, which paint it as this long, complicated intellectual tradition. Less of a fixed rule book and more of an ongoing conversation.
And to really show the full spectrum here, it's important to look at the highly critical perspectives too, which we also find in the sources. Views like this one make it really clear that Sharia isn't just interpreted differently. It's judged in wildly different ways depending on who you ask.
Okay, so with all this complexity, where do these laws and interpretations actually come from? What are the building blocks?
Well, there's a pretty clear hierarchy. It all starts with the Quran, the sacred text believed to be the direct word of God. That's number one, always. If the answer isn't in the Quran, scholars look to the Sunnah. That's the life and teachings of the Prophet Muhammad himself. So those are the top two. After that, for new situations, they can use what's called ijma, which is the consensus of scholars, and qiyas, which is basically using logic and analogy to figure out new problems based on old principles. So it's this really dynamic process, all built on that divine foundation.
And this right here is probably the most important thing to remember about Sharia today. There is no one-size-fits-all application. How it's interpreted and used varies hugely from place to place, shaped by culture, politics, and different legal schools. And why does this matter? Well, if you want to understand anything from a legal debate in Malaysia to a political movement in Egypt, you have to understand this diversity. It's not one single thing.
Which leaves us with this final thought to chew on. This whole story, which started with one man in a cave outside Mecca, it's still unfolding. Today, billions of people around the world are still grappling with this very question. How do you follow the path to the spring in a world that never ever stops changing?